up on today's wrestling news, a current AEW star was backstage at NXT.
Yet another big WWE contract ending soon.
We'll bring you the latest on the WWE TNA crossover plans.
And the Vince McMahon WWE sex trafficking lawsuit is on hold.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Hamflett.
And this is the news. Really interesting story to start with, Hamflett. A current AEW star backstage at TV, that was the word I was looking for. I was going to say TNA there, but I pulled out at the last second. That's my second story.
There's all sort of overlaps there now.
They were backstage at NXT. This is a report from Fightful Select. Sean Ross Sapp, who learned that Rebel, not Reba, was there at the June 11th NXT taping.
Yeah.
So last night, basically. No reason as to why she's there, they can glean, but she had appeared for NXT multiple times in the past. She hasn't appeared on screen, of course, for AEW since way back in 2022, wrestled for the last time in August of 2022, but she does remain on the company's roster page and is still under contract at AEW. Fightful Select learned that she is personally connected to someone who works at NXT. Nevertheless, a sensational headline.
Yeah, it was. What's this about? It's weird, isn't it? Like, we know, like, we're all big fans of Rebel, not Reba.
Yes.
Reba, not Rebel, I think. But obviously, when we talk a lot about Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter's return, we don't mention her because she was lifted from that act kind of before the two of them disappeared off television anyway, without any explanation. I think it was just around Britt Baker's babyface turn, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I guess they deemed her having a heater to be maybe not in line with where the character was at. I don't know.
It's a shame because she was Pat.
Tremendous part of the act. Like, honestly, I think added like quite a lot to Britt Baker's rise through the ranks in 2020 and 2021. So a bit of a strange one, this. Like, less strange than it would have been a few months ago, because it feels like every day we're talking about contractual changes, TNA, like interaction with WWE, people jumping. It's like, it's really back in the conversation, a bit like when AEW launched. If you weren't old enough to live through the Monday Night Wars, you're kind of getting a go of it now, because this is the news that's kind of fun to speculate on. Genuinely, like, wrestlers are independent contractors. If there's a bag out there and there's two billionaires with massive ones, go and get it. So this could be nothing, as you say. It could have just been like a visit of a personal nature.
Could be like Ricky Starks being at WrestleMania, for example.
Yeah, exactly. There was indeed an AEW flavour to last night's NXT. More of that on the review later on, wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, I'd describe NXT as a better place.
So did somebody else. But I guess we'll see if anything comes of this. And again, it's not just ever about the one wrestler. We're talking about telephone, telegram, tele-wrestler. Conversations are happening all the time. The WhatsApp group chats are always firing off. Just because it's Rebel and Reba now visiting friends, it doesn't mean that, you know, other chats aren't happening, going both ways. Keep asking questions.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I distinctly remember there was stuff with like Punk being backstage.
And when he went to Raw,
made
amends with The Miz, I think it was that time. Yeah.
Weird stories that always come out like this. We'll keep our eyes peeled for more of this sort of thing. I would say it could be completely innocent. You know, I assume, I don't think there's going to be any heat necessarily on, or there shouldn't be on Rebel for just going to see her mate. They've not been using her for nearly 2 years. She's under contract, I get that, but it's not like she was. What was his name? Rory from the Highlanders, was it?
Oh, man, yeah.
Robbie from the Highlanders.
It was just visiting, like going to Impact and then getting spotted in the crowd the week of WrestleMania taking place in the same town, and then keying him as a WWE superstar. Oh, Jesus.
Everyone's here to see TNA. What are you thinking, mate?
Oh, man.
I think, to be fair, I've read more about that a while back, and I think he was like, I just kind of had enough of everything.
Like, it was that and a bit of a stitch-up at the same time, wasn't it? Yeah, nobody got to win there. On jumps, this would be one of the most insane, I think. Nobody would have this on the bingo card. But another very prominent name within the WWE ecosystem has had their contract supposedly coming due soon. That's in his own words. And I'm talking of NXT commentator and resident kickoff panel nutcase, Booker T. He was at the River City Wrestling Convention on Saturday, and he hinted that while he has, plans to sort of negotiate and stay put, nonetheless he is in a position where he needs to do so. The words from the man himself was, quote, "Wrestling should be fun, especially with the NXT brand. If you're watching and listening to me, we're having fun and winning. NXT is really hot right now, and no questions asked there. Everyone is focused on performing and making it to the next level. If I can help these guys reach that next level, I'm having fun doing it. My contract is ending soon, and like Sexy Red says, shake it real fast to get a little more." So, Booker T, potentially just hoying that tidbit out there as he continues to negotiate a new deal. I mean, I think he'll stay put. I think from all we know about the, quote, WWE Hall of Famer who thinks this about AEW that you seem to see every week.
Yes.
He's very happy in his current position.
Or at the very least, AEW was like, we've got these 10 quotes of yours here. Do you want to explain what you were meaning by these?
Yeah. Work is going to work to such an extent that I wouldn't be surprised if, as you're watching this video, Booker T's already come out and said, yeah, when I said soon, I meant 3 years.
Yeah.
So it could be one of those things.
They do have a stable called the Infantry, so G.I. Bro could make an appearance in AEW, of course.
This is it. He wouldn't need the trademarks, anything like that. He's if you haven't been watching NXT, Booker's been at that since I think late 2022 on the desk.
He sort of fits quite well in the chaos of NXT, doesn't he?
He does. Vic Joseph is the most like sort of. I was going to say stoic there, and I don't mean that at all. Kind of like the most chaotic, normalised play-by-play man I could ever. Like, again, a perfect fit, but he also bounces well off Booker T, just sometimes talking complete nonsense. It does seem to fit the product they're calling. There is a synergy there, definitely.
Yeah, there's also, like, traditionally you have that setup of, play-by-play, who's generally baby-facing, and apart from that weird Michael Cole period in WWE. And then you have the other commentator, Taz, Jerry the King Lawler, etc., who sometimes maybe justifies the heel's actions or whatever. But it's a complete lottery what Booker T's going to say about someone.
Booker T likes who he likes, and then he sometimes changes that mid-match and leaves Vic Joseph wondering what the hell he just said.
Or it strikes me sometimes he doesn't even listen to what Vic Joseph asks him.
No, definitely
just starts talking about his own thing. Or just, it's like he's, I don't know, asleep. And he's got Vic Joseph going, bollocks, and just presses a button on his back and he spouts some catchphrase about, like, getting caught up in the lights, or it's all about checks and championships or whatever. But I hope he sticks around in NXT. It works very well there. As much as I thought Wade Barrett was sensational there.
Yeah.
But he's gone on to bigger and better things.
He's got his own slate of replies, hasn't he? Be that as it may, Book, and he just sort of like moves the conversation forward.
Anyway, whatever that guy was on about. But yes,
we'll see, I guess.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall with if the Booker T gave Tony Khan a call. Any chance? A couple of things I want to talk to you about, actually.
Yeah, a lot of interview quotations. Let me just pull them up on the
Didn't he say, was it Booker who said Punk's return was a bit crap?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he said it in his podcast. I am surprised he just didn't say it on commentary when Punk rocked up at NXT. Great to have you back, better than your last comeback, or something like that. He's in between ordering his dinner.
Right, let's move on and talk more. Obviously, Booker once said in TNA it's going to be a big payday for Booker T when it's contract season coming up.
Yeah.
TNA, WWE crossover, latest on plans from that coming from Fightful Select. Good news if you're enjoying this, because it doesn't look like it's coming to an end. Obviously, Jordan Grace wrestled Roxanne Perez at NXT Battleground. You're grounded! Battlegrounded? Yeah, winner. Ding, 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 ding.
What's that?
It's a casino.
Oh, like the beautiful Oyo Hotel and Casino, Las Vegas, Nevada. We know you love this plug, guys. Don't let us know in the comments. But
we're talking about what roller coasters we were going to ride in Vegas.
Oh my God, I want to go back to Las Vegas.
Please. But obviously TNA Against All Odds goes down on Friday night. Jordan Grace has this open challenge, and Jordan's told Fightful that she hopes it's a WWE talent who answers that open challenge and hopes the partnership continues. Corey Brennan spoke to some people in NXT, and former WWE talents who are now in TNA like Mustafa Ali and Zachary Wentz, the former Nash Carter, are highly thought of. Shawn Michaels, as we mentioned at the time when he was weirdly released, stupidly released in my opinion, always a big supporter of Ali, had big plans for him, and then he was just like, oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
It would have to be on his terms if he appeared in NXT, not specified as to what that means. Technically, Mustafa Ali
I guess based on what we heard about Mustafa Ali's booking rules last time we heard about him. Yeah.
Technically, Mustafa Ali actually isn't on a TNA contract.
Yeah. That's quite normal, isn't it, within TNA? I think.
Frustrating that he was scheduled to become a champion before his release from WWE. And regarding Zachary Wentz, obviously, who used to be with the company, SAP has been told that their stance on him has softened somewhat since his release. There's a good chance he could appear on the brand again. Last night, Wesley partnered with the New Catch Republic. Everyone speculated whether or not the Rascals could do a 3-on-3 with Gallus. Ash Bale against the former Dana Brooke was brought in very last minute and kept very secretive. She wasn't even seen backstage prior, but also she's well liked within WWE, which is understandable. And really exciting, this actually. Someone Sean Ross Sapp spoke to in WWE said that Moose is someone the company has had interest with for years, and Moose has been very outspoken about wanting to participate in the crossover. He's been courted, of course, by previous regimes with Canyon Ceman reaching out. I'd love to see Moose in WWE, NXT or beyond.
Yeah, I'll say this, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade. I think this Friday is going to be telling, based on last night's NXT and WWE and TNA in general. I want to start seeing outcomes from this, because Jordan Grace was fantastic at Battleground, and obviously the Ash by Elegance run-in was I guess a cute reference of what's currently going on. But how open is this door between the two sides? We're reporting, we're not reporting, we're aggregating plenty of reports from the people who are in the know that speak on this and have talked to so and so, but where's this information coming from? It's wrestlers that probably want their names in the conversation.
Yeah.
It's wrestlers that want to be part of this potentially quite exciting time, this business relationship. As a viewer, as a fan, I want to see some evidence of this. I want there was a tease of Brooks Jensen again trying to invade NXT last night and getting kicked out. If he's going to be one of the first names, I actually want to see his face on TNA.
Yeah.
I do want an NXT or WWE wrestler to answer the call and work against all odds. I want this now. There is, of course, a litany of names across both sides that we'd like to see make the move. We can all fantasy book whatever we want, but I want to see some of these fantasies becoming a reality now.
And especially we talk often, about WWE stars going to TNA, because we could cherry pick a load of people from TNA that we'd love to see in WWE. You got Slammiversary coming up. That's a big one for them, obviously.
Yeah.
I nothing against Brooks Jensen or Tatum Paxley or whatever, but if you're not doing someone with a big main roster star, I've mentioned Baron Corbin just off the top of my head in the past, but you could pick a litany of people. Say to TNA, do you want them for a big Slammiversary match? King of the Mountain, of course, is the traditional match there.
Yep.
That could be fun. I love King of the Mountain.
I did wonder about either a Natalya or a Naomi, considering that Naomi's just been there answering the call of Jordan Grace on Friday as well. A couple of names that have recently been looking sort of beyond what they're currently doing on television. So,
and
who knows?
As with both directions, the people jumping over to the other show do need to get some wins. It wasn't a problem that Jordan Grace lost.
Yeah.
But you can't just always have, oh look, here's so-and-so from the other company. They're going to have a fun match and then lose, because it's stupid if you put the title on them. Cause some shocks, get some discourse going on about it.
If Jordan Grace was to lose on Friday to somebody turning up on the night, that is a big story within itself about how we can expect the rest of this thing to play out. Oh my God, that would actually be kind of awesome, in fact. So, unlikely.
Actually, I want that built up.
Yeah, that would be pretty good. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out, but I would like to actually see things playing out.
Keep you posted on any developments with that,
Yeah. And speaking of developments, this isn't a very big one, but it's one that we kind of expected. A small update in the Vince McMahon, John Laurinaitis WWE sex trafficking lawsuit. Of course, that is against all three of those defendants, but currently it is on pause. We reported last week that Janelle Grant's side, I think, had, I'm terrible with the terminology, but had approved basically the request for it to be paused due to the federal investigations going into Vince McMahon, and they want all the time to be able to focus on that. Janelle Grant's side sort of gave their notice that they were prepared to do that, and Judge Jeffrey A. Meyer has decided to pause it until the investigation from the feds is completed. It was May the 30th where Janelle Grant's side agreed on the pause for the duration of that investigation, which currently is set to last approximately 6 months, but again, that could change. We heard several months ago that this investigation was speaking to a number of people, past and present, with various accusations, stories, whatever, to determine if they've got a separate federal investigation against Vince McMahon, separate to the Janelle Grant lawsuit against McMahon, Laurinaitis and WWE. So yes, that is now formally on pause per the judge, as we suspected it would be when both parties agreed to it. As usual, more on that whenever we get it, and the usual links will be supplied for Rain and the other organisations you can reach out to if this story and anything surrounding it is something that has affected you or any of your loved ones.
Right, let's move on to your Twitter questions at WhatCulture WWE on X. Of course, if you want to get in touch with us, first question today comes from Scott, who says, what do you think is the most aggravating aspect of wrestling today that grinds the gears of most fans?
We talked about this a little bit before jumping in. We don't normally with the questions, and you pointed out something about online discourse.
Yes.
So I won't steal that answer entirely, because I think there's a lot to pick at there. But this question, when you asked it, got me thinking about how I think, in culture in general, everything is more fragmented than ever. We have all got a million different cultural. I see it through my children. There is no it's the death of monoculture, and this idea that there's no one few channels that we all pick from every night and then talk about,
isn't it?
Yeah. And I think and this is who asked the question? Sorry, Scott, this is not a dig at you at all, because we all think of ourselves as part of the wrestling fan base. I think a lot of the time, the wrestling fan base is now too broad a term. I think there are so many different ways to enjoy pro wrestling, and some of the ways we interact to suggest there is only one set way of doing things, and it's like arguing what our favourite type of breakfast food is, or when it's like it's the pancakes and waffles thing Suji told me about. But I think that applies to pro wrestling as it does to music. If we were to sit here and argue that our individual tastes that are completely different are right and wrong, it wouldn't scan, would it?
No.
And the same thing is happening in wrestling. I think there are multiple ways to skin the wrestling cat, and my pet hate at the moment is this idea that you can't, it cannot be good or it cannot be bad by those binary terms. When there is so many different variations and so many different people's perceptions of good and bad. NXT, I think, is the prime example that is absolutely hitting with A, a younger demographic, and B, pillocks like us. There are people that can watch that and very justifiably say that is maybe the worst wrestling show I've ever seen. And both those things can be true.
Yeah.
Both those things can absolutely be true. This is not me having some big sermon on the mount about oh no, we can all like whatever we want. We probably shouldn't. You should have tastes. You should have opinions. You should have biases. I'm going to disagree with certain people that would disagree with me here. Don't love all wrestling. Don't support all wrestling. You can hate whatever you like, quite honestly, because you probably should. You don't have to like all bands. You don't have to like all films. But yeah, I think to assume that just because it doesn't cater to your taste, it isn't catering to a lot of other people's, it's quite misguided in 2024.
Yeah, and in terms of what I thought of, when Scott asked this, I just thought it's the online wrestling discourse. I think, occasionally, I'm as bad as anyone else, just poking the bear with just this better than this, and then see if we can get a reaction. But, I do think a lot of people might enjoy wrestling a lot more if there was just no social media. If you could just go, right, that's the end of the wrestling on Monday night, but I enjoyed that. See you next Monday, or whatever.
I think it would test the hardcores, because I remember a time without that and it was straight to the forums to have fights on there. But in much smaller number and in much more sort of focus group settings as well.
And I just think there's always going to be haters of whatever it is, even if there's no social media or online discourse or whatever. But I also think it'd be a lot less fueled by itself almost, and I think a lot of people wouldn't say what they say online if you were just to say to someone, what do you make of Monday Night Raw this week, or whatever, Dynamite, or whatever it is.
And
I think some people also would just make their own mind up about things. So too many people nowadays go, what does everyone think about this? Right, that's how I have to feel about it. Or what does this person think about this? I'll just parrot that then.
The school playground analogy has always been the one that's hit the most for me on X. At no point would you go into the middle of the school playground, verbalise every single one of your opinions, and challenge the rest of the playground to either agree or disagree in two separate groups. There would be a bunch of individual groups with their own tastes, with their own the schoolyard recess for our American viewers.
I was too busy playing British Bulldog.
Lunch tables, all that sort of stuff. These things, these packs and these cliques. Existed for reasons, some of them very bad and some of them very related to bullying. I don't ever want to go back through that again, but nonetheless they exist because people find their tribes, and to go on X is to basically suddenly expose yourself to every single tribe and all of its opinions, for better and worse. It's a very unique situation that we're still navigating through as the first generation of it.
Yes, good point.
Great question, Scott.
Thank you for that, Scott. Second question today, also a good question. Thank you, Sean, for this. Sean Acklin says, hello, fine wrestling news fellows.
Well,
thank you very much. That's twice. They said the catchphrase on Raw and on NXT. Do you think WWE is hinting that this weekend in Scotland they could, say his name? And he appears, I believe, in Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
Yes. He was in Orlando, wasn't he?
He was.
Last week, of course, he was here. You can check out the video or interview on our channel right now.
Jordan Grace pwned him on Twitter for that. At least hide the palm trees, Joe. He's going to be working against all odds. In theory, he was talking about the TNA show across the summer, but there does seem, from basically, and of course, we're kind of acknowledging our biases or the fact that Joe's sort of done stuff with WhatCulture in the past. He spoke to you as recently as last week. he was one of the names that popped up straight away when the TNA NXT thing happened. Like he's like sort of fortuitously had all this recent press behind the I Believe in Joe Henry thing right ahead of this relationship. So he's right in the conversation, right in the zeitgeist, and sometimes timing is everything.
And Scotland.
Indeed, yeah, and that as well. That's not to say Joe isn't really talented and we wouldn't love to see it from him, but sometimes just that being in that sweet spot at the right time.
All aligns, doesn't it?
It really does. The stars do feel like they're aligning for him.
I asked him whether or not he's going to do Clash at the Castle in that interview, and he's very guarded.
Yeah.
He does just say, basically, I go where TNA sends me. But he's not exactly, I understand, despite our good friendship, he's not going to say, yes, see you on Saturday.
Aye, and it would only take one time.
I think it'd be genuinely, obviously, your Arbor Fire, Isla Dawn, your Piper Niven, your Drew McIntyre, huge pops in Glasgow. I think it'd be right up there.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it would only take, obviously, one wrestler to say his name, and then nobody has a choice in the matter anyway. He will appear, so...
I just think it'd be a real opportunity missed if they didn't just. It could even just be a thing in between. It doesn't have to be a match or anything like that. It could just be, some bell end. Austin Theory always pops into my mind when I say this, saying, "What's that?" And the people are just chatting. Say his name. You want me to say his name? Say his name. Oh my God!
I'll say his name, Grayson Waller. No,
and then, you said say his name. Too late, dumbass. Here he comes.
The same is about Clash at the Castle. There is, of course, SmackDown as well. There were 2 opportunities to take place because there's a TV taping as well. So who knows?
Think of that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Keep your eyes peeled for that one, though. Final question today comes from Colin. First of all, Colin, good boy. Second of all, I assume Colin, the dog, hasn't tweeted this. I assume this is Colin. That's Colin's dog.
Yeah, dogs can't tweet. People are stupid if they think so.
Hello, fellas. Just out of
thumbs, that's why they suck.
Oh, Colin's bloody thick here. He's forgotten what PLE was on Sunday. Well, I better remind him. It was NXT, but I said it earlier. It was NXT Battleground. You're grounded! Battleground! Put me up! It's one of the last times I get to do it, sorry.
Yeah.
You're a winner. Ding, 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 ding.
I wonder how this question made it on. Colin's a smart guy.
Also, with Ricochet being all but written off of WWE TV, is it possible to get Ospreay versus Ricochet at All In?
Yes.
I didn't think about that. Swerve wins, Swerve faces MJF at Wembley.
There are, 10 different Dream Will Ospreay matches at Wembley, not least because Chris Jericho stole the first one.
Shut the...
You're not Freddie and you never will be. You're barely even Chris Jericho these days. This is the match that you sign Ricochet for, and I'm not saying like you don't have to worry about what's next, but that's all everybody will be thinking. Like someone like Kazuchika Okada is a good example. There is the Kenny Omega match right there, but you're signing one of the best wrestlers in the world, so in the meantime, figure out creatively how to get a great run, and that's what they've done with Okada as part of joining the Elite. I think Ricochet will be a harder challenge, and there feels like a little bit less uniqueness to the move on account of just how many incredible wrestlers are currently on that roster, but that match is a money match for somewhere. Wembley is as good as anywhere. There's a nice story. I think that's the great thing about running Wembley. There are so many stories that are just basically, imagine when we did that in here. Now we're doing it here. You can tell that story in so many different ways.
Danielson McGuinness.
Yeah, exactly. So that stage is as good as any, but to counter, they might see Ospreay Ricochet as kind of a dream TV draw. Like promoting that, like adverts will be a problem, but promoting that as like Dynamite's main event, it's like the big one, the big match, and we're getting it on free TV, and it's like part of Ricochet's debut, something like that. I don't know.
He doesn't have a no-compete, obviously, because his contract expiring rather than being released.
Indeed, I mean, obviously, you'll probably take months to recover off the Ron Breaker attack from Monday's Raw. But indeed, it's stick it on the Ospreay list with about 15 others for Wembley at this point until we know what you fighting Ospreay.
Angela Dawn keeps offering me up to a fight with him.
Oh,
he keeps saying he fancies it.
He did challenge you, didn't he? Yeah.
Nothing in my inbox as of yet, though. Running scared, just like Chris Cyborg.
The challenge has been laid down, Will Ospreay. Are you bold and brave enough to accept it? That's what we want.
You do flips, I eat chips. Let's go, baby.
Just flips, just quips. Which way is it going to go? Huh?
I think probably will. He'll probably be like, I'll bring back the time driver, that dickhead.
Flips, quips and chips. I love this.
There you go. Right, thank you for all your Twitter questions. We'll do some more of them, of course, tomorrow. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section on everything we've discussed. Like, share, subscribe, and join us for the afternoon news a little bit later on. But for the time being, why not check out this video right here?